Hello and welcome. Today's guest is a dedicated philanthropist and civil servant. He serves as a city commissioner for arts, heritage, and culture, is the director of the nonprofit Renaissance Leaders, the creator of Good Vibes Open Mic Night, and the founder of the ChampIAm Organization. He is also the best-selling author of the books Everyday Leadership for Everyday People and You Are Enough. A sought-after speaker, he helps entrepreneurs, leaders, and youth to unleash their inner champion and live their lives purposefully, passionately, and with vision. Please welcome Chris Hampton. Hello, Chris. Thank you so much for being here. It is a pleasure to have you with us today.
It's an honor to be a part of this platform, and thank you for the invitation to be here. Thanks.
Amazing. Now, ChampIAm, tell us about that.
That's my motivational platform that I had. That's actually the beginning of the ChampIAm Organization that I am. It would focuses on building personal leadership. I believe that everyone has the ability to lead. It's a skill that needs to be developed and worked on intentionally, but people don't see themselves as leadership materials. So part of my platform is, one, to motivate them to discover their purpose, their passion, which ends up giving them their mode of leadership. So that's my heart right now, the ChampIAm, meaning that you are the champ, and everything that you need is on the inside of you, and it just needs to be cultivated and developed.
Amazing. Now, where did that passion come from? What inspired you to start this movement and this organization?
Well, I've always been in leadership. So Boy Scout as a kid, JROTC is where I learned a lot of leadership in high school, went into the Army, National Guard, and I was a medic for that time. So leadership was something that I found myself drawn to. When it came to empowering other people, that's the encouraging part of me, the empowerment side of me that comes out, that whenever I'm in someone's presence, I feel like they leave empowered. So
Amazing.
I'm always trying to empower people to do that, even when I'm volunteering with my church and different things that we do in the community. It's always been step forth and lead.
That is so necessary. It's always been, I think, important to cultivate leadership and to really empower others to step into their greatness. But I think especially over the last 2 years, and with everything that's gone on and the isolation and the shift to everything being on Zoom and being remote, I think it's more important now than ever to really help people step into their true essence, step into their power, and to step up. Right now is really a time where we're all being called around the world to step up, to speak up, and to lead. So thank you so much for the work that you do.
Well, that's the curse that we're dealing with right now. If you look at the reason, I look at how impact or influence should happen. Influence should be like multi-level waterfalls. And
tell us about that. Expand on that.
What I mean by that is that you should always have someone pouring into you. You should always be pouring into someone else.
Yes,
so,
each one teach one.
Right, each one teach one. It takes a village, or the multi-level waterfall.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
So when I say that is that part of the impact of, even when we're doing with Good Vibes, is that a lot of times we're either siloed or we're so busy trying to look like the generation that's before us that we forget that we are supposed to pour into that generation.
Yeah.
So, and it's real easy, because part of the reason why I see that now is I'm in betweener. I'm mentoring this millennial generation right now, and I'm thinking they're looking at me like, yeah, I can't hang out with you 2 o'clock in the morning like I used to, but I can give you this, and I'm not afraid to show that I have wisdom to give, and they're open to receive it. But now I'm challenging them, and I'm seeing them to go into their work life now, and they're like, I can't get involved with the drama, Chris. I can't do this anymore. I don't feel that way. Why am I feeling that way? Because we've been pouring into you, and now I need you to pour into the generation that's coming after you, and we have no gaps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important. That's how you keep progress, that's how you keep momentum, and that's how you keep growing because, right, we are on a journey of life. This is not stagnant. We're constantly growing and evolving, and the fastest, easiest way to do that, the most efficient way to do that is to learn from someone who's already done it, right? To learn from those who have gone before you, to find out the tips, the tricks, the shortcuts, the landmines. You don't want to step in a pile of quicksand, right? If you can avoid that by having someone pour into you and believe in you in those moments, because it's not easy. Growth is not easy. Growth is not comfortable, right? We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
On our journey. And so having someone that can support you and speak into you and pick you up when you're getting a little weary or a little down, that's so important. And then for you to show up and serve in that same way to those who are newer in their journey, so powerful.
I think one of the other things, this is for anybody on any level, whether you're young or old, is when we're looking for our mentors, don't seek, well, two things. Don't seek affluence, seek influence.
Oh, that's another mic drop moment. Repeat that.
I'll say that
Preach.
again.
Repeat that.
Don't seek affluence, seek influence. When I look at that, sometimes I go to these different speaking events that I'm at right now, these different networking events, and what we try to do is we go to the person that's in the head of the room. That's the affluence. I got to be in that circle. I got to be next to that person, knowing that that person really doesn't do all the stuff that they do to get there. They do what they do well, but there's so many other people that you walked by that have influence to the affluent. But you're trying to follow the money. And I think you have to be aware that you're looking at who are the people of influence. The other thing is not to look for leaders or look for mentors always that are so far ahead of you, that have been there for so long, that you're trying to reach them when you have people that are not that far ahead of you. Maybe they're a year, maybe they're 6 months, maybe they're 3 years ahead of you, but they're ahead of you. And I'd rather look at their data because their pitfalls were recent. Where the other guy's pitfalls, they may be applicable, but they're not as applicable as someone who just fell in that pit a year ago.
Well, absolutely, especially because things are changing, right? The world is so different now than it was even 2 years ago. And so to find someone who's doing what it is that you seek to do now, that is currently doing it, not someone that did it 20 years ago, right? The route that they took isn't necessarily even still in existence anymore. I mean, things are changing so quickly with technology and platforms and algorithms. Oh my goodness, the Facebook and Instagram algorithms are changing every day. The Google algorithms are changing every day. And so you want somebody who's relevant, who's currently in the space that you want to be in, who's currently doing the things that you want to do. And to your point, you don't want the person that's crossed the finish line. You want the person that's 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of you, and then you guys can journey along together. So that's such a great insight. That's such an important point.
We just have to move from the part of, we have to have like a self-revelation of who we are. And I think we have to do a great reprogramming. So we have, again, the keywords are reset and reprogramming. We're in the R's today, so I'll come up with another R by the end of the day, okay? But we said
recalibrate.
You see, we're there.
Rest, recharge, recalibrate, recenter.
When we talk about that, we're saying that we have to reprogram in the fact that we've been told that we are a certain way when we have to realize that we have more power to create in our own life. We've become in situations where we are dependent upon government. But there's things that you can be an entrepreneur and create your own resources within the You don't need...
You can be grandma sewing masks and selling them on Etsy.
Reprogram. She had to reprogram herself. I knew a lady that was set her speaking platform, and she could crochet the living daylights out of anything. And she's so busy thinking that she does not have a talent. She doesn't have a gift. But her crochet work was international, right? So the problem is that we look at our gifts, our talents, and our abilities and we compare them to someone else's gifts, talents, and ability. But your power is not their power.
Yep.
And if you realize that your crochet power won't work for someone who can't crochet.
Yep.
So you have to respect the gift that's on the inside of you,
Yeah.
so that you can use it, so that your gift will serve you and then open doors for you.
Yeah. That gift was given to you.
Yes.
It wasn't given to someone else. It was given to you for you to be the shepherd of that gift, for you to go out and use that gift. And I love that you brought up comparison, because comparison is such a thief of joy. Comparison is a thief of power. Comparison is a thief of momentum, right? When we look, and we're in this culture of comparison on Instagram, on TikTok, on advertisements, where we look and, oh, we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough, we don't have the right clothes, we're not in the right circle, we don't have enough money. It's always compare. And comparison actually keeps you stuck. It takes your power. And you mentioned also, you know, we're told who to be and how to act. And I would love to tie that back to something you said earlier, which is find the people that speak into you, speak into your future self, speak into you in a way that uplifts you and empowers you and motivate you. And that's not what government does, and that's not what society does, and that's not what Instagram does. I mean, we're not spoken into our potential. We're told, to your point, we're told and we're assigned a label. But here's the beauty, is that it's up to us whether we accept that label, whether we accept what we're being told, or whether I love how you said you were taking that label, that COVID global, and flipping it, right? The words are the same, but somebody told you, you're taking your power and you're flipping it and you're using it in a different way. You're using it in a way to uplift and empower. And that's something that's free, right? That's something that each and every one of us has the ability to do. That doesn't matter if you're tall, short, black, white, woman, man. It doesn't matter if you have money or you don't. We have that ability to reframe. We have that ability to stand in our power and not accept labels that are given to us.
If you say something long enough, people
will
believe it. So I'll give you an example. ChampIAm is different because it's spelled ChampIAM. Okay? So when people look at my brand, they look at it and say, is he dyslexic? Did he spell champion wrong? And then I'll say, no. I said ChampIAM is what it is. And I said, when you get a load of ChampIAM, you'll never look at champion the same.
Yeah.
And now, because I've said it so much, people will say ChampIAM, and now they apply it to being a champion.
Yep.
And it replaces the word champion, and now it's in their mind. My question is what is your first response to what people call you?
Oh, that's a mic drop. Another one, another golden nugget.
What are you responding
Yeah.
to when people are putting problems on you? What are you responding to when people are labeling you? When someone mislabels you, you should have an allergic reaction to say, no, slow your roll. That's not how we're doing this conversation. This is how you address me.
Yes.
And the problem is that people have said things over you so much that you believed what they said rather than what's on the inside of you.
Yep.
And sometimes you haven't even, it's what you've spoken over yourself that's stopping you from being the maximum influence and impact that you were meant to be. I was a wallflower in high school. I didn't have the self-esteem. I'm like 46 now? I'm sexy at 46. I look good at 46, right? But I didn't have that confidence. I didn't have that strength, that inner strength, that comfortable with me being me, okay? With my flaws and all, I am who I am. And it takes a maturity to do that. But I refuse now I watch what I say about myself, but I also listen and watch what other people say and make sure that that the narrative is controlled by me.
Yes, you control your narrative. You know, it's about standing guard at the gate of your mind. It's about standing guard at the gate of your mouth. You know, words have power. That's essentially what we're talking about, the power of language. Words have power. And I love that you brought up the physiological reaction that happens from words. So I always like to give the example of if someone says, hey, how you doing? And you say, I'm so tired, and oh my God, I've got all these things to do, and I need to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to get it all done. Well, notice your heart rate speeds up, your breathing gets more shallow, your speech gets faster, and you actually have this biochemical, physiological reaction of being more tired, more stressed, more overwhelmed. The physiology starts to match the words that you're using. It starts to match the language that is coming out of your mouth. And so it's so important to stand guard at the gate of your mind. I mean, we talked about it earlier with watching what comes in, watching the people that you surround yourself with, the environments that you in, what you allow to be spoken over you, the dialogue that you allow yourself to have. I mean, how often do we talk to ourselves in a way we would never speak to a child, we would never speak to our best friend? I mean, if we can learn and practice, because it takes practice since we are conditioned from youth to do what we're told, to believe what we're told, to accept what is spoken over us, to really identify and practice becoming your own best friend. Speaking to yourself like you would if your best friend came over and said they were having a rough day. I mean, would you beat them up verbally? Would you start to tell them that they're a failure and they're lazy and they're this and that? Or would you say, oh, no, here, come, sit down, let's talk about it. You're awesome. You're doing the best you can. You're doing great. I mean, you'd build up your best friend, but we don't do that to ourselves. Right?
Being negative is almost like second nature, because we've never learned how to combat that negative spear.
Yeah.
So we wake up in the morning and say, woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. So when I was single, what I did was I pushed my bed up against the wall in the corner so I only had one side of the bed to get off of.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, I really did that. Or when we watch about, one of the things is our feelings will always jack us up. So I'm trying to get fit now, and I'm trying to fit in my suit right, so when I sit here, I don't have to worry about the second muscle here, right? So my coach is, while we're doing, my mentor, my physical coach is helping me, and she's saying, well, how do you feel? I said, don't ask me how I feel. Don't ask me how I feel. She says, you're a motivational person. You're supposed to be happy and all that time. I said, don't ask me how I feel, because if I ask you how I feel, I'm going to voice it. I don't feel like being here right now.
Right. This is not feel joyful at the gym. I don't think I like you right now.
I don't like you right now. If you want to go by my feelings, my muscles don't like you right now. So I conditioned myself not to go off of feeling, because if I did that, I would have quit a long time ago. But we don't look at those things. But I've learned now that there has to be a period of time when you're disciplining your mouth, that you learn to be quiet.
Okay, wait, that's another mic drop. Repeat that. Disciplining your mouth so you learn to be quiet.
When you realize the power of your words. Now, I used to like fantasy and things like that. Yeah. So spells are just words. Yeah. It's not that there's a mystical power, but words have effect.
Yeah.
Okay? If you say I hate you, that provides a respect. So it's almost like the spell. So if you don't know the word of the spell or the prayer that you need to be praying right now, the declarations that need to come out of your mouth, you need to discipline your mouth to be quiet, learn a new language.
Yeah.
Learn what it means to affirm positively. That you're going to say, hey, I hate waking up. Thankful for another day that I can wake up where other people didn't. When we say, and we call that a prayer, but you look at it and say, I'm just right now disciplining my mouth to be grateful for where I'm at, whether you ascribe to a God or not. I'm just grateful to be up this morning. That just does something to you chemically than saying, oh, today is another day, I gotta go to work, right? I'm disciplining my mouth until I learn what to say to replace it with my negative. Because again, you've been like this, guys, for a long time. You didn't get there overnight, so it's not going to happen overnight. But then when it's kind of like when you realize, I had a situation. I'm going to be open with you. When I first was married, I had a blended family situation, and one of the situations I didn't know was I had an anger button, and the key to the anger button was what? Disrespect.
Yep.
So when I was not being treated the way I thought I would, all of a sudden I would go from 0 to 10, whether I was rightfully so or wrongfully so, I would go 0 to 10. My mouth would go, I would start saying things, I'd blast everybody in the house out, right? Okay, I'm totally different, don't judge me.
Yeah.
But
you learn, you
but
grew,
you learn. But here's what I learned. I learned, one, that my child at the time was hitting a button. And I had to realize what that button was. Then I had to unplug the button in her presence. So now she could hit that button every day long because she hit a button that I didn't even know was existing. So now I unplugged the button, and then I learned to watch my mouth. Okay, that was a disciplined thing that happened. It didn't happen overnight, and it didn't get over it overnight. And now we have a family. Now I got grandkids. We're all good. We're happy. We're building together. But it took concentrated discipline of my mouth and my thoughts so to be able to respond to the situation. Some of y'all are losing jobs because of that right there. You can't keep your mouth shut and you can't keep your thoughts right. And you have to learn how to connect both of those together.
I mean, it's about responding, not reacting.
Yes.
And when we're triggered, what a gift that she gave you by finding that button, by finding the hidden button and pressing it to activate that reaction mode, right? When you would explode, that's a reaction, not a conscious response. So what a gift that she put the spotlight on it so that you could learn to intentionally respond. And there's a power in that, right? So much of it is about power and respect and showing up. And when you can stand in your power and stop, formulate the response that is true, not just a reaction, a response that is true to you, and then you're able to convey that, you are standing in your power. That is so much more powerful than just a reaction.
Yes. Reaction is power that's gone amok. Being able to have control of your power is the discipline. And that's why, even being a father and a husband, it's really important that you keep control, because if you do lose control, it just the effects, the ripples in the pond, people are, more than just you, are affected by it. And that's, again, everything that we've been talking about, even though it's motivational, inspirational, exhortational, it still leads in the subject of leadership, because when we're leading, the very first person that we have to learn to lead is ourselves. Everything we've been talking about, these are actionable things that each and every person can implement. It's not, and they're all free. They're all free and they're all accessible, right? Watch the language that you use. Watch the thoughts that you have. Stand up and lead. Get a mentor. Each one teach one. As you're learning, you're teaching. These are tools that you can implement right away to step into the leader that you are, to become the ChampIAm, right? To really be the full embodiment of yourself, to create a life that you love, and that then there's the ripple effect. So, I mean, these are super, super powerful mindset tips. They're leadership tips. They are habit creation. I mean, you can change your life just by changing your thoughts, changing your words, which then changes the beliefs and the paradigms, the programming, and then taking action on that. You've talked about working out, moving your body, working toward your goals. Walk us through some other habits or practices that have really helped you to evolve into the man that you are. So I try to make sure that I make time for myself to, one, to create. I try to try myself to where I am mentored on different levels, and that was setting my expectations out there for next level.
Okay.
So I always say, well, help me to see who I need to connect to in this season of my life. So I'm always looking at that.
That is good.
Now, like
help me to see who I need to connect to in this season of my life.
Yes.
So good.
And I like that because, again, like one of the things that I was always looking for, I'm always looking for male mentors at that level, people who are seasoned. So sometimes the people who I'm looking for are rare. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that a lot of times the reason why I say you need to know what you're looking for, make it an opening for that, is because if you don't put the expectation out there, the expectation won't be met.
Yep.
So you got to make room and make sure that you're cleaning out your life to make room for the people that are supposed to be coming into your life so that they can recognize you. They need to see that you're working where you are. And a lot of times it's when you're working that someone taps you on the shoulder to say, hey, can you be here? Hey, yes. I saw this in you. Hey, here's another opportunity for you, even though it's not in your comfort zone. So I'm always making time to re-establish, making sure that am I too comfortable.
Yeah.
So
you push yourself out of that, and you actively, I think that's important, you actively seek opportunities to become uncomfortable.
Yes.
You actively seek opportunities to grow. And growth and change is scary, right? It's scary, it's uncomfortable. It goes back to what we talked about earlier with being willing to have that label of being a novice. Because at each level, I mean, you went from being the expert at the level below to now you're the new kid on the block, kind of learning and growing and developing as you move up. And
I'm also a dualpreneur, so I have a full-time job as well, and I pursue my passion at the same time. And they don't have to be separate. My job actually accepts me for my gifts and my talent and my future. And they know that I'm a speaker. They know that I go out there and do the things, and they make room for me to do what I need to do.
That's amazing.
When you know your purpose, you know what to negotiate when you come to your table.
Oh, yes. When you know your purpose, you know what to negotiate when you come into the table. That is so profound because I know our audience is going to say, number one, well, if you work a full-time job, how are you doing all this other stuff? And how did your boss let you do it? And how do you have time for it? And you've got, a wife and kids and grandkids. How can you possibly juggle it all? And I think that is the answer, right? That is absolutely critical.
I'm going to give you an answer to that because in order for me to live 7 years ago, I was working 2 full-time jobs and being a caretaker for my mom before she passed. Yep. So 24 hours in a day, I was doing 2 full-time jobs, going to church, taking care of my mom, doing all those things. Did they have everything to do with my full purpose? Yes, it was preparing me. But when you asked me where did I have the time, well, I had to make time. Yeah. Now, I made time. You make time to do what you need to do, what you want to do. Yep. And the thing about it is that writing a book can only take just an hour a night out of your 24-hour day. Yep. And how much time are you spending in front of the TV when you could be creating? Yeah, or scrolling Instagram or
You're
Facebook
or TikTok.
Or cats fighting, and you could be writing something that you could be writing your next novel or painting your next picture or going on to YouTube University and learning something new that you didn't know before, but you're misusing the time that you have because you're not purpose-driven, you're life-driven. And I think there's a difference between being purpose-driven and life-driven because when you're purpose-driven, everything is funneled through that vision of who you are and who you see in yourself going. This job that I am here, I know, one, I got promoted because of my purpose view on life. That now that I went from being a sales agent to now managing a whole state. And you're like, well, how does he find time to do all that? Because it makes room. And they say you have over 300 hours of vacation time. So I'm able to use my 300 hours of vacation to get paid to come speak at another paid environment. And now that the paid events that I'm speaking at are going to be paying me more than my job could be paying me within 4 months. Yeah. Right? So you have to be able to know who you are. And when you know who you are, you know the value that you bring to the table, and then you know why you're working. Yep. Most of us are working because someone told us to work or we just need a temporary house. over our head. But when I realize that I am working and my job is actually training me up for my purpose.
Yes.
Me being in leadership is training me up for my purpose. Me going to these executive board meetings are what? Training me up for my purpose. Why? Because it's teaching me the language of executives.
Yes.
It's teaching me that corporate, how to respond in a corporate environment.
Yep.
It's teaching me how to manage my life so that I don't have to be managed. All those lessons I learned from a full-time job that was preparing me for where I was going to. Even though they were looking at me for a now response, it was so much valuable to me because it was training me for where I was going.
Yeah, I love that. I love the difference between being life-driven, which is just surviving, right? It's paying the bills. It's people who say, well, I need to pay the bills. I have responsibilities. I need a roof over my head. I need hot water. I need food to eat. And so they're just looking for opportunities to get by, as opposed to looking for opportunities that align with your purpose, that prepare you for your purpose, that allow you then to really step into that next level where you can shine. Because when you are in alignment with your passion and your purpose, you will shine. And when you shine, that's when doors open. That's when people tap you on the shoulder, to your point. That's where someone says, take my hand. That's where someone says, let me help you. That's where someone says, wow, you're really exceptional. Here, let me promote you. Mm-hmm. You know, it's when stepping into that full power and purpose and doing that thing that only you can do. And you can bring that gift that we talked about earlier into any job. I have done it all, you guys. Yes, you know, I've got all the accolades and titles and hoop-de-doo now. But I have peddled perfume in parking lots out of the trunk of my car.
Oh, me too.
Like, I have worked at the mall. Yes, I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Would you like original or extra crispy? And do you want fries with that? I have been there. I have been a server. I've worked at gas stations. You name it, I have done it. And all of them have prepared me to do what I do, to be who I am, to serve the way that I serve. So we can be intentional, and I love that you brought that up. I think that's a really powerful reframe. Are you working to live, or are you living in alignment with your purpose?
And I think there's work without proper purpose is abuse.
Yes.
So abuse is when something is not used for, when you don't know the purpose of a thing. Abuse is inevitable. Mm-hmm. I heard Dr. Miles Monroe say that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us are victims of life abuse. Yeah. We are abusing the life that we have because we are unaware of the purpose that life is supposed to be. And when you understand your purpose and you understand what you are, it affects everything around you. It affects how you choose to be treated and how you choose to be spoken to. When you know your worth and you know your value, it just changes the whole world of how you see it. And you go from living the rat race, and a lot of us are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we are being abused so long on our jobs, and it's not necessarily you call the abusive situation your job. No, the job is not the abuser, you are. Yeah. Because you're failing to realize the greater purpose, that there's more to you than your 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Your job is supposed to work for you, not you for it.
Amazing. That is another mic drop moment. Your job is supposed to work for you. You're not supposed to work for it. Yes, it can be a means to an end, but when you're intentional about it, your job works for you, you don't work for it. When you're intentional about the jobs that you take and the disciplines that you have and the schedule that you set, and to your point earlier, using your voice to negotiate the things that you want, that will allow you. I mean, I don't think there's never been more opportunity in the job market. People are hiring right and left. It's never been easier. Now with remote work, you're not limited to your neighborhood. You're not limited to your state. you're not even limited to your country. You can now go and work, so many places with the remote workforce. And so what an empowering time to take a moment to reevaluate. Reevaluate your purpose, reevaluate what you want, reevaluate your life. Is the life that you've built and the way that you've set it up serving you? Is it setting you up for your greatness? Is it setting you up for your purpose? Is it setting you up for the life that you desire? So powerful. So tell us a little bit about some of the tools, because you've been through it. I don't want, make no mistake, I don't want people just, in the audience going, oh, well, he's got it all figured out. He's had this amazing, charmed life. So you have been through it. Tell us a little bit about that and some of the biggest tools that you used for resilience, that you used to shift things and really overcome quite a few of the challenges that you've had.
Well, I'm glad I don't look like what I went through.
Yeah.
And it might be little compared to anybody else, but I didn't graduate from high school. I was a high school dropout. People don't know that about me, and if you looked at me from this, he's just telling us in here like 10 minutes left, and he's saying that I was a high school dropout. My mother was a bipolar schizophrenic, and I didn't even know that until our 17th year of high school, when I was in high school, and my parents got divorced. I was one of the most educated high school dropouts. Because I was trying to fill shoes that I wasn't supposed to, and I ended up failing, I think, 2-3 classes, and I didn't want to go back a whole year for 2 or 3 classes. So I dropped out, which my mother was a teacher, so she was heartbroken when I dropped out because she's an educator. Education was important to us. She didn't think that my life would do that. But I dropped out, got my GED, and went into the United States Army. You would never know that, but that got an opportunity to show me who I was. And it wasn't that I just needed to get out of the neighborhood. I did need to get out of the neighborhood, but I had to get out of the neighborhood and do something different with me. The Army was that place where I was able to find more about myself than I really. When it says be all you could be in the Army,
they're not kidding.
They're not kidding. I didn't know that I could rap. I didn't know I could run. I didn't know I was physical. I was the wallflower nerd. I didn't realize that there was so much on the inside of me that I had yet to put a demand on until I was in a zone where I was with different people and different cultures and different environments where it was challenging me to be better. And I needed that. And that was the catalyst, I said, that was the United States military that showed me that. Ever since then, I've always been ducking and moving. It took me 46 years to get to my prosperous life. I was always fighting and growing, using the tips that we've been sharing all here as a part of my transformation, but you're getting the end result of the work that I was putting in, because there were times where I was unemployed. There was times where we didn't have, but we always had. I'm sorry, even when we didn't have and I was unemployed, by the end of the year we were always making just as much or more than I was making before I was unemployed. Why? Because when I got the next job was always a step up. It was always moving. So I learned not to give up, not to give in, but to always continue to grow yourself, to always continue to be flexible for change, because life is going to throw everything at you, and the person that's not malleable and flexible will get beat down every time. And I've learned that up into this year, where these last 3 years have been the best years of my life now, only because of the art of being flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the tree in a hurricane that is not flexible gets snapped in half, right? Or it gets uprooted and thrown. But the trees that bend, they get a little pruned, okay? There's some branches gone, but they're the ones that survive.
And we talk about that in the art of flexibility, is being able to bend but not break. And you have that. You have to give yourself permission to give that give. And you got that permission to bend, and it's not the straight, like we've been taught to be rigid in our thought, but I've learned that rigid in my thought, the more I get older, the older I get, the more flexible I become. I'm not as rigid as I used to be in my ways of thinking. There's more ways to accomplish the end result. And therefore, you may find a better way by just being flexible.
Yeah, being open.
Open.
Right? When you're open, that's when you can see other possibilities. That's when you can see other ways. That's where you can really grow. When we're so rigid, it's like the old adage, you can't see the forest through the trees. If you're so stuck in it, you don't see the big picture. You don't see other possibilities. You've got your blinders on. You only see the one road in front of you. And I think that can be a really dangerous rabbit hole. Because especially if you're on a downward trajectory and the walls are caving in and you've got all that negative self-talk and you're kind of spiraling, if that is all you see is that big black hole and the walls caving in and you don't see a way out, that's really when people get into a world of hurt, as opposed to training yourself. Because you also brought up the point that we're conditioned to be rigid in our thinking. So this is not a one and done. This is not like, oh, magic, you're going to try it one time and your life is going to be rainbows and unicorns and fairy dust and all perfect. It's a practice to train yourself to be flexible. It's a practice to train yourself to be open. It's a practice to train yourself to ask for help. It's a practice to train yourself to live in gratitude. It's a practice to train yourself to use empowering language and assign empowering meanings and perspectives. It's something that is a daily practice. And I think part and parcel on that, and I think it's important to bring up, is the subject of failure. Right? We are taught that there's one way, and if things don't go exactly the way we envisioned, that it's a failure. Or that if we try something and we begin to institute these practices, that when we make a mistake, when we stumble, when we fall, when we don't do it one day, or when that negative self-doubt and the imposter syndrome and the limiting beliefs creep up, that somehow we've failed. As opposed to, it's part of the journey.
There's three fears I talk about that keep us comfortable and keep us in our comfort zone. There's the fear of rejection, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, and the fear of success. And the key to all of those fears was, I said, you need to become fearless. And when I talk about being fearless, I'm not talking about the commando that comes out there and they're like, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the movie, you see him walking. You realize that when you see the commando walking out there in the sunset, he's beat up, everybody around him is gone, his friends are gone, ain't nobody around. I stay away from people like that, like the plague. When I say fearless, I say it like this: the more I know, I fear less.
Yep.
So there's always a way around the problem. There's always the thing that you're fearing the most. You just got to look at it differently and say, I need to know more about this so that I can find a way around this. So when we look at it and that we're not being so quick to react, and we're going back to our react to respond, when a problem comes or a situation or an opportunity is in front of you and you find yourself fearful, fear is okay as long as you don't let it constrict you, confine you, or stop you. So you realize it might be a little thing you have to evaluate the cost on, but it shouldn't be so much that it makes you stop moving forward. You need to learn more about it. And that's why we go back to our mentor conversation, our teachers there. I'm not afraid of success anymore. And I think that's why my success has been coming to me more and more, is because my fear of success was, what if I couldn't make it? What if I couldn't sustain it? What if I can't handle that famous side of me coming out now? And now I'm starting to get with people like you that say, hey, this is how you navigate. This is how you do. This is how you need to upgrade. I'm no longer fearful. I fear less because I've been exposed to more.
Yeah. And that's such an important, profound insight, to fear less. And I love the point about just evaluate, right? When something is coming up, when you're uneasy, when you're unsure, when you're afraid, to be able to say, where is this coming from? And is this fear that serves me, right? Is this fear that protects me? Is this fear that, keeps me from driving off the cliff at 100 miles an hour in Yosemite? Or is this a fear that is holding me back? Is it a fear that is a function of our 2,000-year-old brain that is wired for survival? And so is it that fear of success? Is it that fear of failure? Is it the fear of I am not enough? Is it any of those fears? If so, you can recognize it, evaluate it. If the fear serves you, honor it. If the fear doesn't serve you, then you can say, great, okay, not today, thank you so much, I'm good, and continue on, right? Step into the thing that you're afraid of. Feel the fear and do it anyway. There's an acronym, since you love acronyms, there's an acronym about fear, that fear is nothing but false evidence appearing real. It's us worrying about something or trying to predict something or envision something that hasn't happened yet and may not happen. So we stop ourselves from doing something that isn't even based in reality. It might happen or it might not happen, but we're limiting ourselves based on this false evidence appearing real.
Let me give you another thing to do on top of that. So once you realize that you're responding to false evidence that is appearing real, we're going to talk about the RESET acronym. And that RESET acronym says, recognize that I'm in your comfort zone.
Yep.
Okay? And then I need you to embrace your vision again. Okay? So when you're fearful and you find yourself in that fearful stuff, realize that you've been comfortable with that fear. And then I need you to embrace the vision. Go back to the big picture. Look at it again. Embrace it. Okay? Set goals and plans around that vision. So now it's no longer a dream. It becomes a reality because now you're preparing for what is to come. And then what we're going to do, we are going to evaluate the cost. What is going to be the cost for me to take this step out? It doesn't mean that you need to be scared to step out. You're just evaluating what it's going to take for you to go to the next level. It may cost you something to see that mentor. It may cost you something to go to that next class. Evaluate the cost. Don't just jump.
Yep.
And then the last thing is taking action. So when we reset, we're taking action, and the action is now, because every day you are making a commitment to move closer and closer to your vision. So we talked about we gave you a whole bunch of acronyms today. Hopefully you can remember those things. But you need to, today there's the R word. And we talked about reprogramming,
Yep.
resetting, recalibrating. Now you have a practical application on how to do all of those things.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we've also talked about the value of mentorship, and each one teach one, and the mentors that you seek and the guidance that you seek. What's the best advice that someone has given you?
I would go to my spiritual mentor, who saw all of this stuff in me before. And again, he says, you know, the best thing is make sure that you don't get to a place where your character cannot sustain me. He says a lot of times your gift will open doors for you quicker than your character can maintain you, and that character is important. So he always told me to embrace who I am, flaws and all, but just make sure that you're setting yourself, that you are there, that your character is first, your talent is second.
Great advice. Now, what's something that you wish somebody would have told you that you had to learn the hard way?
It's never the right time to step out.
Oh, that is a mic drop. That is so powerful. It's never the right time to step out.
And I think the reason why I say that was because as a speaker, I was always looking, my family had to be right, perfect. Finances had to be perfect. At the time, I was separated for 10 years from my wife. We are now reunited after 10 years of time and been together for about 5 years after that. But during that time, I knew that I was supposed to be encouraging and helping men and helping and ministering to different people that were hurt. And I'm looking at me at my time, and I was like, I was hurt.
Yeah.
But then you don't think that you can ever help someone when you're hurt. But that's the time where you're supposed to help people.
That's the perfect time.
So that's the perfect time. And I was getting mad because I was helping other men and with their families and restoring their families, and their stuff was being quit. And I was like, God, what's up? We not throwing pots and pans at each other. They were. And they're back together, and I'm still stuck in hurt land. And just to see their life turn around. But that was when ChampIAm was birthed, was in my downtime. So it's never the perfect time to step out. I wish I would have stepped out 6 years earlier. And at the same time, it's never too late to step out.
Yeah.
So it's never the right time, but it's never too late to step out either.
Well, I think with the it's never the right time, that really goes to we want all of our ducks in a row. We want everything to line up perfectly. That goes to I'll do it when.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be that person when. I'll do this thing when. I'll travel when. I'll step up when. And the time is always now.
Yeah.
Right? The time is always now. Life isn't perfect. Life is going to be a journey of twists and turns and ups and downs. And if we're always waiting for when, someday doesn't come. Today is the day. We don't know what tomorrow brings. The one thing that we do know is that change is constant. That is the one thing that we know. Life is going to change. Circumstances are going to change. The world is going to change. And to your point, it's do you change with it? Are you flexible? Do you adapt? Do you roll with it?
This just popped in my head. It was that you are eating today the seeds that you have planted yesterday.
Yeah.
So whatever harvest that's in your life now is a result of what you have planted before. So what's the lesson that we learned? Always be planting, because what you're planting today, you're going to eventually eat from later. So if you're planting misery, scar, brokenness, economically you're crazy, then what's going on? And that's why you have to be so sensitive of what media is coming out and what you're watching on TV, because they're planting their seeds. Your seeds have to be able to be stronger than the seeds that other people are scattering in your life. So what are you eating today? And if you don't like what you're eating, you have the control to change the seeds that you put in your life. Start changing today.
Absolutely. So powerful. So as we start to wind down our time together today, piggybacking on the seeds that you've been planting today, that you've been planting your whole life, let's imagine you've come to the end of your life. It has been the life best lived. You have left it all on the table. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want them to say about you?
I want them to say the champ was here. And when they see that, it's not only that the champ is here, but that I've planted seeds of legacy, of seeds of empowerment that are there, that you will see my effect on 3 to 4 generations in action. So when you look at me, you'll see great leaders standing beside me in different communities, global communities, not just my religious community, those outside of my circles that are there, that will have the ChampIAM spot. That if I never see nobody else in my time, they know that the champ was here. That's what I want on my gravestone. The champ is here.
Amazing. Amazing. And so it is. And so it is. Now, how can people connect with you? How can they find out more about you and what you do?
Well, you can reach me on ChampIAM, ChampIAM.org. That's my website, and you can contact me through there. You can also, my book is Everyday Leadership for Everyday People. It's sold on Barnes & Noble, Amazon platforms. That's available as well.
Amazing. Definitely, guys, connect with Chris. Connect with Mr. ChampIAM. You see, he's dropped so many, so many golden nuggets today. Definitely go back. This is, you'll want to repeat this and repeat it with a notepad and a pen, because there's been some powerful things shared today. So thank you so much, Chris, for being here, Mr. ChampIAM. Thank you for all you do in the world, for how you show up so powerfully, for the leaders that you're creating, for the next generations that you're impacting, for your heart, for your service. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Both past, present, and future. So before we let you go, do you have any parting words that you would like to share?
I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity to share your platform. And I really want you that were listening today to walk away with this, that you're not going to be a life abuser, that you're going to make the most of this life and that you have more control over the life that you have than you think. You are the artist and the creator of your life, and you have the ability to wipe that canvas clean and create a new picture, and that you win. So create a picture that you win in the end. The champ is here. The champ is you. The champ is now. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. The champ is now. Till next time.